Morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the People Matters Research webinar on SHRPA 2025 SCA Insights. I am Cheshta Dora, Head of Research at People Matters, and I'm so glad to be hosting the session for you today. Now, if you think about it, HR in Southeast Asia is at the crossroads today. You ask me how? Investments in AI, stronger change management, and agile practices that have pushed the function forward, but the pace of external disruption is even faster. It's actually outpacing us. A global borderless talent ecosystem, rapid rise in AI, and increasing demands for productivity are reshaping the world of work faster than we can think and wrap our heads around it. So, what does this really mean? This means the HR core agenda of the past is no longer enough. What comes ahead must be designed to navigate transformation, anchor AI adoption to its core, really embody AI, and also redefine how talent and capability strategies deliver competitive advantage. Now, the SHRPA State of HR Industry 2025 Southeast Asia research highlights the critical gaps that HR leaders must prioritize to address the new agenda for the next 12 months. To move from intent to impact, HR leaders need sharper focus. And this is why the theme of today's webinar we have is the next HR agenda in Southeast Asia. And we'll be aiding it with the insights from SHRPA 2025 report. Now, some of you who are joining us right now, I would love to understand from you which country, which city are you joining us from? Please go ahead and put in your input in the comments. All right. So, a very warm welcome to those of us who are joining right now to this exclusive digital launch of SHRPA State of HR Industry Insights report for Southeast Asia, where leading HR voices explore how to craft and execute the next HR agenda for the region for the next 12 to 18 months. And for that, while we have a research where we have discussed and talked to over 1,200 leaders and over 30 leaders for in-depth interviews. Today we also have two eminent leaders from the region to discuss the findings of the SHRPA and understand where we will understand some real-time challenges, examples from them, and see how we can really build on some of the imperatives that we have drawn. What is their perspective? And I'm glad to share that today we have Narelle Burke, CHRO of Kantar, with us.
Hi there. Nice to be here, Cheshta, for this important research. It's fabulous. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's always great to have you, Narelle. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to delve deeper on some of these findings with you. For our audience, a little bit about Narelle. She's an award-winning international HR leader with more than 20 years of experience working in strategic HR business partnering and center of excellence roles. She has worked across a multitude of country, regional, and global roles and across various industries with government business enterprises to tech startups and currently heading the people function at Kantar. She's always brought the provocative voice to our discussions and really bring things, the food for thought that we look for. So I'm really excited to have you here, Narelle.
Absolutely. Delighted. Thanks, Cheshta. And it always sounds amazing when you read that out on the screen. So thank you.
Great. The second one we have is Nanang Shali, Director of HR Business Growth Partner at Paragon Corp.
Hi, Cheshta. Hi, Narelle. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Glad to be here.
Hi, Nanang. A very warm welcome to you. A little bit about Nanang for our audience. He also comes with 20 plus years of extensive experience in HR spanning across tech and FMCG industries, both in the national, region, and global group roles, with past experience in companies working in companies like Unilever and Tokopedia. In his current position as a director of HR at Paragon Corp, he's recreating the people practices and partnering with different brands under the umbrella of Paragon to improve talent success. Can't wait to delve deeper into more of this and go further from our discussion that we were having yesterday on some of the insights. A very warm welcome to you, Nanang.
Thanks a lot, Cheshta. Thanks for having me.
Great. Can we have some of the research slides on the screen, please? Wonderful. So, as I stated, in the next slide, we have research methodology, which also talks about the geographies, participants, coverage that we have had in this extensive state of the HR industry landscape from India, Southeast Asia, Middle East to Pacific ANZ, and participants spanning 360-degree HR landscape, CHROs and HR leaders, CXOs and business leaders, HR tech and service leaders, and also the tech investors as well. Really talking about how the HR landscape, how the business landscape is disrupting HR. What does HR effectiveness look like in order to navigate some of these ongoing disruptions? And how is the tech landscape aiding some of those HR effectiveness? Today we are going to discuss specifically on the Southeast Asia insights, and we do have some hard-hitting insights. Let's get without further ado, let's dive deeper into it. If we move to the next slide, we actually see three key shifts that we've figured that's going to disrupt HR and become organizations real competitive edge. Here we are talking about building global skill clusters because of how we are seeing the growth riding on the global talent and innovation systems. The second thing and very key thing we've observed is how change readiness is increasingly becoming equal to AI readiness. We've seen globally 84% of leaders say that they are change ready, but only 29% are AI ready. And further, when we go deeper, we'll also figure out and see the SEA specific data points here. And the third one is how tech adoption, not just the implementation, is the currency of value realization when it comes to technology. And how the implication here is HR team reconfiguration. So, Nanang and Narelle, when we talk about these three insights, these three shifts that are reshaping HR agenda, how are you seeing any or all of these shifts emerging in your organization or across the countries? Would love to hear from you, Narelle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when I look at it, and we've been on this journey at Kantar for the last 18 months, I think the thing that I would say to the HR leaders out there is that when you think about AI readiness, is anyone actually ready for it? And a big part of AI readiness is actually playing with the tools and experiencing it. And so when I think about this, where we've had success is where we've had people, we've put things like Copilot and other AI tools in their hands, and what you quickly discover is yes, you can have pilots which test particular areas, but quite often you will find use cases, different role profiles and functionalities that use it in ways that are not intended. And I think this is one of the big things we're seeing with AI is depending on your role, depending where you are in the business, depending on the level you're at, your use cases will be different. It's different for education, it's different for learning, it's different for recruitment, and it's different for general business. And so when I look at this, I go change ready. Yes, important, but isn't anyone ever really? I think about the currency of ROI and I go, to get that, you have to go to adoption. And so the thing that I would emphasize the most is get the tools in the hands of the most people across the levels that you have and give them time to play with it, to experiment, to use it. Because if I look at our organization, the stars of using AI and adoption are not the people we would have intended through a traditional change program.
Right, right. Yes, I think HR leaders or the right or the relevant leaders getting the tools and working with it, playing with it is absolutely very, very important to drive the adoption and not just the logins for the technology. So, what do you have to say, Nanang, about it? And I would also like you to go a little bit deeper and talk about, is there any of these shifts that you are seeing HR in Southeast Asia specifically missing out on big time?
Yeah. So again, to what Narelle is saying, I think the the mandate of making sure that AI is embedded into the way you work. I think that's some sort of like general wisdom that we all definitely need to embrace, and not just understanding it but fully doing it. But I think to give you a context, right? So where I come from. So again, maybe just a little bit context. I mean, Kantar is a famous names probably, but maybe some of the audience is asking, what is Paragon Corp, right? So we are actually operating in a beauty FMCG. Our brand Wardah is a WARDAH. Wardah is actually number one Southeast Asia brands across Southeast Asia based on campaign Asia 2024. Although it's only sell in Indonesia today and Malaysia, let's say in the last couple of years. So we haven't expanded across Southeast Asia. Now, again, just to give a context why AI is important in my industry, although I can probably be saying different industry would have different answer to what you are asking, Chesta.
Right.
So beauty industry is a $9 billion business in Indonesia only, right? Southeast Asia could be probably times, I don't know, three, four. And again, with skincare, for example, is 3 billion out of it. And this is a business that's actually interestingly growing like 15 to 16% year on year, which is very interesting. That despite all the macroeconomic challenges, but beauty is actually taking up in Indonesia. And I think the market, why market is actually is getting bigger because one, you have online commerce as an enabler that allows you to sell products without having to build a shops, right? And I think there's a lot of international brands that coming in into different markets using these online channels, right? Not to mention again the easier access to it, right? Now, just in Indonesia context, there is 1,300 cosmetics industry. And again, I mean that's a pretty big for a country. And then again, in average, every single companies probably have 307 SKUs and stuff like that, right? So you talk about probably 400,000 stuff like SKUs and variants. Now, the reason why I've talked about how important this is because when your business rely heavily in this kind of market where everything is fast, your competition is a lot, despite the high growth, then technology becomes very important, right?
Yeah.
That is why like Paragon ourselves is actually trying to cope with that needs of technology. And probably that's why I'm actually hired in a way from a tech side of the business, to really look at it and see if we have to build our own technology capability, right? Building like literally a product and tech team, because you probably want to have your own capability looking at how things are going. Now, AI then become a survival. If you don't do AI, you can't win in all the online battle that you have, be it
Yeah.
e-commerce, be it live streaming, be it affiliates, right? Be it a low commerce and so on and so on. So I think having a burning platform to kind of rally people that, guys, let's embrace AI. If it is not survival, maybe it's become difficult, right? But I think it's a matter of time to what Narelle is saying. If you don't embrace now and then you are being pushed to it, then that would be more inconvenience than if you actually just encourage people to have a use case and so on, just like what Narelle is saying. So I agree with Narelle. I think this change readiness, especially on AI, has to be rallied through. You might
Yeah.
not use it for survival, but trust me, when you have to survive using AI because there's no other way, then I think better if you take a more of a proactive approach to it.
Absolutely. And then I think you also mentioned that your organization is building some
Yes.
of this technology in-house as well. I think these shifts become all the more important. And I mean, they're equal, if not more important, when it comes to building AI readiness and driving adoption. If you're building a technology in-house, there's a
Correct.
lot of investment and resources that go in it, as well as when you are buying a technology as well. So trusting
Chester,
technology.
Chester,
Yeah.
can I just go into that a bit more? Because I think what Nanang's given is a broader perspective. And I think for the HR teams that's sitting on this call, I think there's the three different lenses to look at it, which is at an enterprise level, what are you doing around your AI strategy? And how is that a core part of reinventing the industry you're going in? So this is disruption across every industry that we're working in, whether it's retail, whether it's finance, whether it's medical or education, or the beauty industry, which is huge. And so I think at an enterprise level, that is absolutely key. Within that, there'll be technology you buy and there'll be technology you build to enable that. And I think the role of HR at the center of that is how do you help your organization to navigate through that, because there'll be different strategies involved. But at the heart of it is the workflows and the adoption of that technology. So Nanang, I completely agree with you, but it's core for survival. I would say this is absolutely imperative because every industry is reinventing if your company is not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
when we talk about how it is now become a source of survival, and this is a huge imperative for organization, what we try to see is that how is HR effectively navigating this, and how are they dealing with this shift and adapting to the practices. So if we go in the next slide, what we also observed is some of the top talent challenges with highest implications on business. And what we try to do is we kind of bucketize them in the talent excellence, change management, leadership development, AI and emerging technology, and total workforce planning here for Southeast Asia. And what is HR effectiveness in it to navigate those shifts that we have just spoken about. We actually see the majority of the gap, as you see, is in driving talent excellence and change management. And even in talent excellence, when we talk about things like employee productivity and managing a multi-generational workforce. So, given the evolving realities of 2025 in Southeast Asia, such a diverse region here with its own level of complexities, how should HR leaders think out of the box solutions to improve the talent excellence?
So, do
You
you
want
want
to
to
take,
take it, Narelle?
go ahead.
Do you want to start? Okay. So let me start with my own some sort of observations, right? So I think first of all, if you look at this is very important to see that it's kind of cut across actually. It's like 39, 34. So it's a pretty much five dimension problems that you have. Of course, talent excellence and change management comes as the highest, right? But I think what is interesting that I've learned because again, Paragon is actually a local Indonesian company that operates currently mainly in Indonesia and Malaysia. I learned a lot of local wisdom from the founder, who actually a local entrepreneur who has been building the business for 40 years, but come up with a lot of counterintuitive wisdom, right? So I think one wisdom that I found out very interesting is that he believes that if you look at problems and then you're turning it out into opportunities, right? He believed that there's never been a wrong headcount number. Again, we can debate this, and it could be controversial because there is never again there is no wrong headcount number. What's wrong is always the top line that you're aiming for, right? I mean, you can operate with 1,000 headcounts and a revenue of a million, and if you can get revenue of 3 million, but with a 2,000 headcounts, then why not, right? So that's what talent excellence is in my opinion. So there are some culture interventions that being driven, which is trying to unlock opportunities where everyone like there's entrepreneurship schemes that can culture that being driven. But I think what is interesting, the takeaway on what talent excellence means is, again, let me slow this down, is about building the right organization, right, with the right people to address the right problem or unlock the right opportunities, right? And what is interesting for Paragon, and this is something that I try to learn, is that there is no fixed organization. So it's a squad based model where if you look at an opportunities, then you basically prioritize your headcounts there. So people, again, this is probably sounds, like old fashioned, but if you match that with the recent findings that when we talk about organization, it's all about skills instead of roles. It's just it's exactly the same. It's just a different articulation of it, right?
Yeah.
So for example, like I've just recently built an affiliates like large workforce that we need to basically build without having to recruit people by trying to shuffle people around because we see that affiliates are taking the leads in terms of growth, and then leaders and talents are just need to be ready by the time we have to shift this squad into in either going to the left or to the right, then we have to be ready, right? And I think that's what productivity is actually means, because sometimes we are trying to being very strict, putting people in certain boxes, and when new opportunity comes and we are struggling with, okay, which boxes needs to reduce and which boxes needs to be invested and so on. I think operating with different organogram in your head with this local entrepreneurs flair is actually become a very interesting conversation. Like what actually an organization means, right? So redefining that, for example. So I think every organization and industry, regardless where you are, you
Yeah.
would probably be seeing different practices that people are trying to adopt to be innovative, to make sure that the business are still relevant and you don't actually lose the very very niche opportunities that coming up in this difficult market. But that's just a little bit of a story that I can share from my own experience being in this again local business for the last 6 months, Chesta and Narelle.
Great. We'll definitely delve deeper into it. I think the point that you touched upon on the skills, we'll talk about it in the later slides as well. I want to touch a little bit on the change management since you talked about talent excellence here. Nirel, what are your thoughts on change management? How do you think HR leaders and change management leaders can be prepared to not only manage the overall disruptions but really drive AI transformation and AI readiness in the organization?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I think you need to know what you want to change, how quickly you need to change, and what are the vehicles and mechanisms to change. And so I would go on this chart, I would go up to the right. And I think as strategic partners, and that term is overused, but this is a strategic change that we are going through. And I think your workforce fundamentally shifts. So if you think about AI and technology, where the work is done, who is doing that work, which part of the work is going to be automated. If you think about the old equation of revenue growth meets FTE growth and employee growth, that equation is broken. It is about technology partnering with people and a technology first. So I think as HR practitioners, it is about what is it that you need to change, how quickly do you need to change, and what are the mechanisms to do that. So if I think about our workforce at Cantor, we know over time that we are going to be leaner, more skilled, with very, very different shapes across the markets, the global markets that we work in. So when you think about that change and the number of roles that will change, the number of automations that we need to put in, the ways of working, the processes that change, all of a sudden you go from a linear change process, which is something comes out globally and goes out to the markets, and you look at traditional change processes and you go, it's not agile enough, it's not quick enough, it doesn't have its fingers on the pulse, it's not two-way feedback, and it's not actually getting into the heart of how people's mindset and practices are changing. So the way that we're looking at it is through a number of different areas. At an enterprise level, Where do you need change and where do you need that to be compliant, i.e., ways of working fundamentally need to shift and need to be hard coded into your enterprise and processes? And where do you want change for curiosity? Where do you want people to play? And I keep coming back to play. Where do you want people to play and to explore and to learn and to grow? And then how do you connect those two networks? So we have change adoption leads, which are in the business, which are in core job families to help people have use cases to actually support them in their work. We have enterprise change, where we have leaders that go through change management and practices, which is AI generated coaches to help them real time with clients and with their people. And then we have change influencers, which are
Yeah.
throughout the organization helping to do it, as well as power half hours on what's coming through on AI. So when you look at that, it is not one process. It is a number of different interventions that are connected, that are about adoption, influencing enterprise wide, as well as generating curiosity. A one strategy and one approach will not work for this. It's too quick, it's too fast. Be clear on what you need to change to get global scale, and be clear on where you need to create change and curiosity for longer term sustainability.
Thank you, Narelle. I think you've given a great example and also talked about some of the emerging roles, some of the roles who play a big role in the change management, and how it is becoming, how AI readiness is becoming an increasingly important part of managing the change, and how change influencers can drive it. Definitely, like you said, these and Nanang also mentioned, these five challenges buckets that we have curated are interconnected. And total workforce planning, which includes not just human workforce but also augmented machine augmented
Absolutely.
workforce, it's very important aspect to drive the change management in an effective way and to drive the talent excellence. um, Unfortunately or fortunately, when we tried to kind of dig deeper into it, in the next slide you will see we actually checked and realized that it's only 1 in 5 organizations which are using and fully adopting Gen AI in the Southeast Asia. Only 17%. They are aware of it. That's a first big step where they are at. But still, the adoption rate and fully adoption is so low. And when we checked with them about the reason, what could be creating a biggest hurdle, we actually saw lack of internal expertise is one of the big reasons. So as much as they are the effort is towards building talent excellence or change management, this part of building the excellence and driving productivity, this part of driving the change management through AI readiness is still being missed at some place or the other. And if we go to the next slide, what we have actually observed is why this is happening, because the the AI implementation skills for change management are deprioritized. Currently, it's at number 9. While influencing and advising strategic leaders, strategic thinking, employee experience are some of the top capabilities that are focus areas in the HR teams, which who are the change champions of the organizations. The AI related skills are being not fully invested in. So there seems to be an ambition and execution gap here within the HR team. So my question to you here is, as we see HR across SCA under prioritizing the AI first capabilities, as you can see, and given the criticality of it, as you both agree, is this an alarming situation for HR in 12 months? And if so, what capabilities should they really invest in, and at what level, so that our viewers can get some perspective here?
I'm like, as always, Chester, when I see something that kind of scares me, this is terrifying. So when I look at it, you are going through one of the most significant disruptions, not only in our generation, but the generations before. And as a team, you're allowing the organization to mandate whether this is important or not. I'm sorry, but as a HR community, your workforce is changing. The way you do work is changing. The way you define roles is changing. How it partners with technology is changing. At the end of this, this is the most critical movement you will be involved in your career. So if you are sitting here and your leadership team does not understand the importance of this, firstly, I have some questions for the board. But secondly, I would be looking at what is it you can do to upskill them as quickly as possible, whether it's MIT, whether there's different programs through the universities across the region, that get skilled in what's actually going to change. And the reason I say this is if you are a listed company or you are looking at any type of shareholder value, the productivity of your workforce embracing technology is going to be a major source of competitive advantage. Not only that, your entire workforce needs to be upskilled in this. And if you're not clear on that change, how can you support them and how can you support your leaders? The thing that I will come to in terms of Kantar is the reason we have made progress and our adoption rate across our entire workforce is over 90% in AI adoption. We have a partnership with Microsoft. We are a frontier company and we are embracing this in everything we do. Every single person in our organization has AI to support them in terms of their tools. In doing that, we are driving better utilization, better client outcomes, better employee outcomes, and we're doing that through creating tension. What is it that you need to shift to help your leaders? How do you get their mindset aligned? But this should alarm people. So if you're in HR and this is your situation, change it. You have an influencing role. You have a seat at the table, use it.
Yeah. Narelle, you mentioned something in the beginning, and I want to discuss it in
Well,
detail
after my
now.
rant.
Yeah, I think what you said in the beginning, which Nanang also agreed to, is that the way we work with AI or we embed AI in our organization should be part of our ways of working. One thing that reflects our ways of working is the culture, the organization culture that we build. And I think in that it is still working in very the working with AI is very siloed approach. In parts, it's very distributed or not as integrated. So if we move to the next slide, you will see, based on this, what we reflected on as in SCA, how 78% leaders said that they feel change ready. A good thing is compared to 76% in 2024, so that has improved the intent, the readiness around adapting to change. However, only 24% are AI ready based on the skills, based on their mindset, etc. And what we realize is that if the gap remains this much, then over 57% of people will miss their HR transformation goals, if that's not true. So, Nanang, with this, what do you think could be some of the more risks? And when we talk about really building a culture of AI readiness, embedding it into our ways of working, what does that really look like in practice?
Yeah. Thanks, Cheshta, and again, thanks, Narelle, for like rallying up everyone in HR to really be at the forefront of this.
I love
Again,
that.
I think I'm blessed enough coming into a company that realizing that AI is a survival, because immediately from the top leadership they see they need to actually embracing AI and changing a lot of business questions. From, let's say, for example, how do we close this gap, or how do we conquer that market and so on, how do we win this particular brands over other brands and so on, with an AI into it, right? How do I reach out to as many as persona as possible with AI, right? Just by changing that question actually is a good start, right? And I think what Narelle was saying just now, which I totally agree. Sometimes AI doesn't even come up in that questioning, right? It's still something meant to be a peripheral, it meant to be creating a fun videos or fun memes or chat GPT whenever you want to travel hey, can you build me a, like a tour package to Singapore, right? It's a very a light, and then people kind of embracing it, but not embracing it at the same time. And I think that's what needs to be unlocked, right? Now, again, again, if your business realizing that without AI, then you will be losing competitiveness, then I think board are start kind of excited and on board with that agenda right now. That's, I think, the voice that needs to be there. Again, from my own story, the leadership voice is the most critical ones. By the time leaders are embracing it and start asking business question with AI as part of it, then everything start to move, right? And then we start looking at how AI can actually help us to win in the market. And I think what I can also just say is that we see a lot of, interestingly, a lot of agile, independent, smaller companies that are more AI savvy in the beauty industry. How they can convert, in particular trends, someone out there having a TikTok post of something, and then they, like, for some reason suddenly an indie brands can come up with a campaign that hits a particular trends, right, before the big companies does. Like Paragon is already considered to be a big companies. And I think that what makes us worry. Like, there's no way, this kind of trend riding are being spotted by a human eye, right? There's no way, right? So, like, millions and millions of persona, there's a lot of trends are going on, and beauty is riding on trends. A lot of beauty brands actually riding on trends, and we realize that a human eye will not be able to do this in at scale, right? So that's a intriguing questions. Then suddenly starts the conversations about how are we going to build AI capability in the way we track signals, demand, posts, and everything in social media, right? So that's just to give you an example, Chesta, how questioning, I think, start with questions. If your, like, the audit is that what is our biggest problem statement today, is a solutioning of that problems include AI in the conversation, then at least that's
Yeah.
a good start. But if it is not, then you're in problem, because you're in trouble, because out there's a smaller agile companies, or even large giants companies that already realizing it, who will hit you suddenly with a surprise wave, and then you are very late already in trying to catching up, because they know how the game is playing, and you are totally clueless, right?
Yeah. So, Nanak, I have a follow up on this. Do you suggest our audience like top two or three questions as considerations that HR leaders should definitely put forth on the table during a business strategy discussion, which are related to AI? How could AI impact any initiative or strategic change that organization is trying to drive? That could be like a rule of thumb.
Yeah, again,
Both of you can, yeah, suggest.
yeah, I always believe on a partner in kind, not partner in crime, partner in kind. Means that who is the best business leaders that see what you see, right? It's always good to kind of bring somebody on board as a change agents, and then kind of table that questions together, right? That's how it works usually in my experience. But Narelle could probably be having a different tips also.
Narelle, do you have any point of view, any top like one, two, three questions or considerations that you have as a rule of thumb when you're thinking about any strategy and how AI will impact it and how we should drive AI readiness to deal with that?
Yeah. So I think if I go back to COVID, and we will all remember COVID, and overnight, a single event changed our ways of working. And so if you think about it, in the lead up to that event, um, nobody thought people could work from home, that they could be productive, that there wouldn't be any miss in shareholder value and outcomes, right? So there was a major shift. If you think about AI in the same way, what is the tension that you need to create for people to change? Because what we know about change is there's an inertia. What's the value? I'm not seeing it. Is this going to work? I'm scared of it. Is there risk? Is legal going to come back? Is it going to actually give the answers? Is it going to take my job? There's a whole range of questions about the value of AI. And what we have seen is until you put tension into the system in terms of how you work and the outcomes you deliver, you are going to struggle to see a return. So, what are the types of questions and tension that I would put in? One is, what are your clients doing with this? So, we all work in businesses with clients or consumers. And at the end of it, as Nanang said, someone is going to be doing this whether you are not. If you're in an enterprise level, someone small is going to be doing it. If you're small, someone at an enterprise level is going to be innovating. What is the tension and what are the questions coming back in that you need to be answering? Do you need to be quicker, cheaper, more effective, smarter, more innovative, more creative? What is it that's coming in that needs to create a commercial tension? And then from a leadership perspective, I would be looking at it is, if the CEO came to you and said you need to be 10% quicker, 10% better, 10% more effective, 10% whatever that might be, how do you go about beating the bot? What is it that you can do and use technology to help you be more effective in solving that problem rather than just using your experience and your team's experience? AI is very good at generating points of view and perspectives and innovation that you can take back. And as a HR team, I would be looking at it from the questions on, how can it work with you to help create better solutions and better questions and better outcomes? What is it that it can do to help shift your mindset and build on your knowledge? So one of the things that I'm doing at the moment is creating a commercial tension agent in Copilot. I'm developing an agent, not a technology expert, really don't understand all the fundamentals, but I'm developing an agent that is going to help our people ask better questions, to think differently, to challenge our leaders, to challenge the organization. And I think that's the way we need to be looking at it, is where do you create tension to create value and impact, and what role can technology help to do that?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think one thing that we've also been discussing is how we are uh, taking or thinking about AI, that it is for survival at the moment. If we don't do it, we are not going to, like in Anang words, we're not going to win in the market. So how do we really win in the market and scale, specifically when it comes to like his industry that he was talking about? So. A lot of times, Narelle, the survival mindset comes from a place of fear of how that technology is going to displace us, which is what you mentioned as well. I think what People Matters narrative and what we are trying to also drive is how do we think of it from a place of growth engine and a
Yep,
way to win in the market, to drive competitive edge. And that is a game of mindset
it is.
along with many other things. Definitely not to discount that. And I think that's going to also solve for one of the questions we have from our audience is that how can leaders better engage with AI, as many are growing skeptical of its impact. Employees have a fear of technology. So according to you, what are some of those mindset shifts that HR will have to help with their leaders and employees to strengthen the trust in technology and allow experimentation to reap the benefits of AI?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I keep coming back to change for compliance and change for curiosity, and I think this plays into that curiosity and where you go. So if I think about an organization, and you spoke about culture, what I would highly recommend is, rather than working against your organization culture, embrace it. Where is the energy for AI? And if you go out and ask people, and there was a really nice study that came out around it, I think it was from MIT, which is around if you look at change, there are certain things which people would love for AI to do. All of the work that gets in the way, the low value tasks. How do you help to get rid of the work that makes it hard for people? And I think that is an easy path to getting people using AI. So if it can help your administration, your meeting notes, your low value scheduling, that side of things, can it help with your charting? It can do some amazing things with Python and coding. How can you support that? And then how do you help people to free up time to spend with their clients, to spend with their research, to spend with their thought leadership, and for us to spend time with our leaders coaching them through this? So, my first thing would be, where are the opportunities where your people want AI to help support them, and how do you drive that? I think is really important. So, that's one way, and then building it into the workflow. The other thing that I would say is people get concerned about what it can actually do. And so, what we're doing is a lot of stuff around AI activation days, AI festivals. We're helping people to prompt like pros. How do you get people to create agents that make things fun? And it might be something like a holiday to Singapore, but it could also be something like help me to be a better business partner and commercially focused. So I think, yes, there's going to be compliance. Yes, there's going to be change where it changes workflows and fundamentally reorganizes that. But there's also an opportunity to take away low value work and to create space to play and to innovate and find solutions to problems where, AI can help. So it shouldn't be about fear. It should be about using the culture and the energy to help shift things.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. And I truly believe, like I said in the beginning, curiosity is the base layer of everything. You need to drive that through certain things. I love the idea of AI festival, like you said, allowing the experimentation in the safe to fail environment. So I really hope that we as a community come up with a lot more such opportunities for our employees and leaders to work this stuff out. So looking forward to it. Changing gears a little bit and talking about HR technology and how that part of the world is really helping us drive that culture and helping us adopt the technology better and really enabling us. When we go to the next slide, we actually see that the tech innovations that are being developed by HR technology leaders are actually in alignment with the top three areas where HR plans to increase investments, which is HR effectiveness and AI and analytics, because we need to get our hands dirty. Agentic AI in HR delivery workflows, we need to automate more and do more higher order work in the HR team. And talent development and upskilling, continuous effort. So that's a good news. But what's not so good news is on the next slide here is that many organizations in SEA are investing in AI and hybrid technology, but that also comes with adoption as a real challenge, which I think gets directly translated into the ROI of technology. So if you see from 2024 to 2025, justifying the HR technology's ROI is one of the biggest demands of HR leaders from the HR tech partners. And that has become very important for HR leaders to show it to the business as well, as there has been a continuous level of investment in it. So, according to you, what steps can HR leaders in SEA take to realize the true ROI of HR technology? Then we can go with you.
Yeah. This is where again the way we experiment with AI in HR in Paragon is starting with those that closest to the business. So we don't have AI chatbot, to be honest, because that is something that we were still figuring out in the larger some sort of employee experience ecosystem and so on, so on. And again, I think there's a lot of culture where people feels that it's always good to meet people, but if that front is something that is difficult to unlock, then I actually try to unlock with what closest to the business, which talent management. So what we did, we are working with one of the local startup, creating a customized what we call just-in-time talent management. Means that whenever we change squads and we look at there is an opportunity for people to move into a role, then AI will run the talent profile. We have a complete psychological profiling of a person, the performance history and so on, including skill set that the person has. So it's an internal matchmaking by AI to come up with a short list. So discussions on people was meant to be done in a data driven AI based a proposal and shortlist, and that is actually my first winning use case that the business are willing to invest. Interestingly, because it's unlocked the business problems, right? Because the problem statement was whenever there is a new squad invented, because either you are trying to develop new brands, or are you researching new formulations, or are you trying to enter new markets, by the time you create a new squad, the logical thinking is like, you know what? Why don't we hire people from outside?
Yeah.
And hiring those niche expertise will take time. Like, it. I mean, especially in a very high red ocean kind of type of industry like beauty and cosmetics in Indonesia. So we try to actually build a multi-role but expertise-based talents where people are really being moved around because we know that they have the expertise and skills needed for particular roles, and through technology we can unlock that. So I think that's a use case that I can tell. And again, this is actually pretty unique because we were actually trying to look around from the market. Is there any such a technology that can give us that functionality? There is
Yeah.
none. So then we decided to approach a local technology company to build it for us. So that is how niche AI and technology solutioning in HR in my view, Chester,
Yeah.
that companies needs to invest, right?
You're absolutely right, and I think in one of the slides in our research, what we actually observed is it's on the HR technology investment slide, and to our audience, you can get the full slide deck. My team will share the link with you in the comments, but do check out how the HR technology investment landscape is shifting in Southeast Asia. So what we observed is whether the investments are increasing by 10 to 50%. Most of the individuals have projected that in the next 12 to 18 months. And the potential reason why it's increasing is that organizations are going for hybrid models, hybrid technology, which means they have their core integrated processes, technology from one organization, but they also need those niche point solutions which are very, very innovative. So they want to balance innovation with integration, and which is a great example of what you just said, Nanans, of very customized, configurable product and feature that you wanted for your organization to really justify the value that you want to drive out of it. Narelle, my question to you is more on the HR operating models. So, do you see any implication of the demand for ROI and value realization on how we can really structure our HR operating model to achieve better adoption and ROI on technology?
So again, in true Narelle style, really blunt, yes. So if you think about the role that technology can play within the HR team, it's immense. It's fundamentally changing everything in terms of the employee proposition, the user experience, how you interact, how work's done. So of course it has to, the HR model should follow the business. If the business is changing, therefore we need to adjust and adapt. I think the thing that I would put over the top of that is being really clear on the business you're in and the HR organization the business needs, And if I take our example, so we're private equity owned, our model is all about value creation. So if you are in HR, it is about value creation. What does that mean? It means you don't get incremental budget to invest. It means the cost of technology needs to be offset. How do you offset that? And a part of that is looking at what is it that creates value in what you do? Where is it where you need high touch people interaction that creates, you know, thought and leadership and innovation and creativity and being that thought partner? And where is it that you can automate and use agents and agentic AI to help you out? So, my challenge to everyone in Southeast Asia, if you're not rethinking your operating model in line with your business, it's a missed opportunity. And I would say, and this is very true, and if my chief people officer is hearing me globally, at some point in time, we will be people and agents. We will be managing agents. We will
Yeah.
have them in the workflow. You will have a leaner HR organization, more focused on value creation and client outcomes, less focused on the routine work that you can automate. So it has to change. I think the other thing that I would say, Cheshire and Anang, is it can help you with expertise at scale. So if you think about, I want to put in a coaching intervention, a leadership intervention, client or commercial development, there is something that you want to do. Like we're using Mentor AI, which has coaching real time as part of that. Once upon a time, exec coaching would be the domain of a few. Now it's something that can be scalable. We know that recruitment and administration time between Workday and other systems and setting up interviews is a nightmare. We now have good times. So we have our source of truth in terms of a system, but we are absolutely using technology to augment that along with agents that we're developing internally. So short answer, the model has to change. Long answer, where's your business going and how do you adjust and adapt to create value?
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And we are actually, Narelle, we are seeing that in real time in many organizations happening. We have to go leaner. We have to understand how people and agents and machine work together. And we can automate some of the workflows to change the operating kind of structures of the organization. As we move ahead, we'll actually see on the next slide is this is actually being shown in some of the challenges that we can see in how we are leveraging technology as HR as well. And there is a total perception mismatch in what HR say is a challenge versus what HR technology partners say is a challenge. I would actually encourage the audience to go ahead and kind of read that in detail. But if we see lack of system integration and features, then Ang also highlighted that how they wanted like very niche features. And then again, the resistance in change adoption of new technologies are some of the biggest ones that have come out, not surprisingly, where we really feel AI readiness and data mindset are really the prerequisites for solving for some of those perception gaps. When we move ahead, we'll actually see out of our discussion, there are three emerging gaps that are coming out on the next slide. One of them is AI readiness gap that we talked about. What it is leading to, how it's increasing the gap is through value realization that we should have from the technology. We should achieve from the technology. Because of the gap in AI readiness, value realization gap is increasing. And because of that, HR effectiveness gap to impact business outcomes and growth is further increasing. So, if we do not solve for AI readiness, we will not be able to realize the ROI, full ROI, and we will not be able to fully effective in solving for business challenges. And HR can actually see a very low level of influence in strategic decision making and a competitive disadvantage here. The three big imperatives that we have come out of in the next slide, and I would love to ask my last question from both of you around it, is how to make leadership, talent, and AI as the core to HR's agenda, which is a part of today's discussion, the core, how to build data influency and AI readiness as an HR capability mandate, and how to really shift from just deployment to adoption to increase the value realization. So, out of these three major imperatives, Which one do you see being the most critical for HR to implement in the next 12 months? Let's start with the nine.
For me, the I think the imperative number one is the most important one, because I think the way HR, and again, when we talk about HR, this is more of a cross, right? I mean, there's a lot of use case in HR trying to build AI to problem solve a particular functions in HR. For example, like AI chatbot to increase, like quality of services and stuff like that. Ensure informations are available at the touch of a keypads and stuff like that, right? While, like I say, talent management is trying to solve this just in time, uh, you know, people movement, internal mobility, and so on and so on. Uh, but I think there has to be a higher framework in looking at how integrated things are, so that it's become something that like HR needs to actually also lead in the AI space, showcasing that we can deliver the best AI use case in the business, right? Because that's what gives us also a license to then continue to be what Narelle was saying, to be the one who Sherpa in a way the whole organizations into the more AI centered world. So I think that's my last I would say point, Chesta.
Thank you, Renang. That's super helpful. Nurel?
Yeah, I'd go to imperative one. So I think there's a few key things here for HR. This is not a technology adoption. It is a fundamental mindset shift across every aspect of your organization and how it works. Your chief people officer needs to be on the advisory team sponsoring this. They need to be working with the leaders from an enterprise level on how this happens. In your region and markets, you need to be leading by example. Your business and people are scared. This is unknown. It's a risk. We don't know where it's going to end up. What are you doing to drive this? And how are you leading and showing what AI can do? So in my situation, my example, in every call I have with my team, AI is at the forefront. How are you using it to help in your role? In my leadership conversations, creating tension to create a mindset shift at an organizational level. What is it that AI can do to support us? You need to be in those conversations. Driving it is the biggest change we will have in our generation.
Yep, completely agree. Love it. HR can be that orchestrator that can drive growth and be part of those discussions. Thank you so much, Narelle and Anang, for this insightful conversation, for giving more color, more depth to our research with your real time examples around challenges, best practices that you're seeing in your industry and your organization. I hope our audience has enough takeaways and some of the Monday morning actions as well as initiatives for their long-term strategy that they can take away for their organizations. Again, you can download this research from the link in our comments. I hope we were able to also solve some of the questions that we have from the audience. Narelle and Nanang tried to address those. For anything else, we are happy to receive your feedback at any point in time. Thank you so much again, Narelle and Anang, from the bottom of my heart. It was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Anang. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Narelle. Thanks, Chesta. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.